Saturday Night Thunder is open.
It's Saturday night, and look who's coming to town. The USAC Sprints and Midgets are on the road. Make way for NASCAR's Busch Grand National Division coming to Indianapolis Raceway Park. The series regulars will tell you they're getting shot at from two different directions. Just ask Tommy Houston with 23 career victories. Put the question to the legendary Jack Ingram on a farewell tour after 40 years. And Jimmy Hensley with 8 career victories, twice most popular, will tell you the kids are coming at him. There's teenage Jeff Gordon, who calls this his hometown track, and the Brother Brigade. Kenny Wallace, little brother of the former Winston Cup champ. Todd Bodine with 2 brothers in the big leagues. Bobby Labonte, second ranked in the series standings. Brother Terry taught him well. And from the other direction comes the heat of the Winston Cup regulars. They've got the weekend off from the meat and potatoes series, so Davey Allison comes to Indianapolis Raceway Park and brings along old DW, Darrell Waltrip, a longtime campaigner in this series. And this guy, the 4-time Winston Cup champion, as intimidating here as he was 2 weeks ago en route to Talladega. Dale Earnhardt and all the rest have come to Indianapolis Raceway Park. The world leader in motorsports coverage presents Speed World. It is a very special Saturday night in Indianapolis, Indiana, and you can see that by the crowd. Spelling capacity with a capital C. We've jammed them into Indianapolis Raceway Park tonight. Perfect night for racing, especially if you're a Southern stock car star. You're used to heat and humidity, and yeah, a little bit of a chance of rain, but we're going to do everything we can to keep that out of here. It's been raining north of us all day, but right now it's looking pretty good for the show tonight. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Despain. Welcome to a special edition of Saturday Night Thunder. It is the Busch Grand National Division of NASCAR, the 10th running of the Kroger 200-lapper here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. A race and a division definitely on the move. Now, a lot of times on the super speedways, these cars run as support events to the Winston Cup stock cars, but they're more than capable of demonstrating that they can be the main event, and I think the crowd that we've jammed into this place tonight certainly indicates that. These folks are hungry for stock car style racing. Now, as we talked about at the top of the show, you've got drivers from a number of different areas that are here. The young guns so far have won 8 of the 21 races this season. The series veterans, the Grand National regulars, have won 7. The Winston Cup interlopers have picked up 6 wins. And at the top of the championship standings, it's the Brother Brigade that we talked about. Rusty Wallace's little brother Kenny leading the series standings, and Terry Labonte's little brother Bobby second in the rankings, each having picked up their first victory here in the 91 season. And they may well be as close tonight on the racetrack as they are in the series standings. Through 17 shows, we enjoyed the antics of Gary Lee and Larry Rice in the booth. We called it the Gary and Larry Show. But for this special Saturday Night Thunder, hey, we brought in the stock car experts. Bob Jenkins to call the play-by-play, former Winston Cup champion Benny Parsons to tell us what it all means. What else are we going to call it but the Bob and Benny Show? Hi, guys. Welcome to Indy.
And thank you very much, Dave, and we're going to have fun tonight, Benny.
Boy, we are having fun. What is better than a Saturday night at Indianapolis Raceway Park?
And we talked about the Winston Cup intruders into the Grand National Division. One Winston Cup regular has been very hot in the series. Won't be competing here tonight, but he'll be replaced by another Winston Cup star.
Who's pretty doggone hot himself. Davey Allison, you saw him just a moment ago after the race at Talladega. He was so frustrated, he hit the truck. Look, and he broke his little finger. I think he beat the truck up. He won the war, but he lost the battle because he can't drive tonight. Who's going to replace him? His cousin-in-law, Hut Strickland, who's on a pretty doggone good roll himself.
Larry Rice and Gary Lee have been talking all year about how the sprint and midget drivers drive this track. How about these guys?
Well, I talked to some of the drivers. I've never raced at this racetrack. I said, how do you get around it? Well, Hut Strickland said it's kind of like Birmingham. You run up next to the wall. Kenny Wallace said it's kind of like Atlanta up next to the wall. but it's not like a Winston Cup racetrack because Dale Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip, they're here, and both these fellows failed to qualify.
It's been a very tough field to get into. Dale Earnhardt had to make his way into the 200-lapper through the qualifying race, and Darrell Waltrip, with 13 Grand National wins, had to take a promoter's option. Now, here's the last lap of the qualifying race. Earnhardt was running third, but look at this.
He takes over second from Steve Grissom and tries to go for the win. That's Dave Resendez in 79, but Earnhardt can't make it. He does finish second.
So Earnhardt and Waltrip are in the field, and so are many, many other stars of the Grand National circuit here tonight. And Dave, I don't think you get another person in here.
Seats have long since been sold out. Now every strip of grass on the banking around the racetrack is filled. I'm convinced they all came to see Benny Parsons' tie. We talked about Gary and Larry's neckties, but Benny, that's a world-class piece of neckwear. We got 200 laps of action coming up. Stay with us. Saturday Night Thunder is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is One Tough Motor Oil. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. We'll be back with all the NASCAR action right after this. If you're a Saturday Night Thunder regular, you know all about sprint cars and midget racers here at Indianapolis Raceway Park and elsewhere. If you're new to Grand National racing, Bob Jenkins is about to tell you everything you need to know about the Busch Grand National Championship Series. Bob?
The Busch Grand National Series has a heritage that is nearly as old as NASCAR itself. Originally known as the Late Model Sportsman Division, its early champions were drivers like Mike Claypack, Ralph Earnhardt, and Ned Jarrett. Renee Charlin was a 4-time champion in the early 60s. Other legendary drivers with multiple championships include Red Farmer, Butch Lindley, and Jack Ingram. In 1982, NASCAR redefined the series from drivers competing on regional tracks for national points to a national touring series of approximately 30 races per season. Today, the Busch Grand National Series has attained the status of being the third most prestigious racing series in the country, behind only the Winston Cup Series and Indy cars. While many have used the series as the last stepping stone to a Winston Cup career, others like Tommy Houston, Jimmy Hensley, and Ingram have found a career racing in the Busch Grand National Series is all any driver could wish for. Competition is the key word, with each season producing records for new winners as well as different winners. On many tracks, the Busch Grand National stars have a chance to compete on an equal basis with their Winston Cup counterparts. Chuck Bound, a former Winston West champion, is the defending Busch Grand National champion, earning over $300,000 during the 1990 season. In 1991, the series has had a great mixture of experienced veterans like Bound and Hensley finding victory lane, along with exciting new winners like Kenny Wallace and Bobby Labonte. The Busch Grand National Series is a great place to spend a racing career, or use it as the final step to the Winston Cup Series.
At Indianapolis Raceway Park, the field rolls off for what should be a great race in a very competitive division. Take a look at the season statistic. 21 races thus far, 14 different winners. Only one man has won 3 times, the defending series champion, Chuck Bound. Further evidence of that competition, the starting lineup, from the surprise pole sitter to the big names out back. Let's take a look at them. Bob and Benny.
And that pole sitter has the track record here at IRP. As you can see, the tread cam in use that we'll be using down in turn number 1 here. The car's rolling through it. The pole sitter is Ward Burton, his very first Busch Grand National pole, and a new track record at 110.516. On the outside of that front row will be Robert Presley, the winner at Orange County earlier this year.
The second row, we find Bobby Labonte, who was leading the Winston Cup points, now is second, and Joe Nemechek, last year's Busch Grand National Rookie of the Year.
In row number 3 on the inside, the defending series champion Chuck Bound, flanked by the current points leader in Grand National competition, Kenny Wallace.
In row 4, Davey Allison. As I said at the top of the show, he will be relieved by Hud Strickland and Jimmy Hensley on the outside.
Inside of row number 5 finds Ed Barrier. He's a second-generation driver. And then Jeff Gordon. He celebrates his 20th birthday tomorrow.
Row 6 inside Butch Miller. He won here in 1986. And Jeff Burton, the younger brother of our pole sitter, on the outside of row 6.
And we're going to be riding here with Jeff Gordon as we take a look at the rest of the starting lineup. Now, those first 12 were locked in. These next 10 made this 200-lap race, either by standing on their previous time or second-day qualifying. And there's some top names back here in the middle part of the field, including Bobby Hamilton, our outside row number 10. There's Dale Jarrett inside of row number 11, and Earnhardt starts on the outside of row number 12, and he's got a lot of traffic ahead of him.
A lot of traffic. These fellows had to go through the qualifying race. Resendez won the qualifying race. Earnhardt was second. That's how they started, 23rd and 24th. And there is the complete field.
And Darrell Waltrip on the inside of row number 17 by virtue of promoter's option. And the two guys that did not make this field, Mike Oliver and John Linville, but that's because they were involved in a little bit of a skirmish during the qualifying race.
Crashed in the qualifying race coming off turn 4. The cars are going down pit road. They have to check their tachometers, see what kind of RPM they're running down the pit road right now, because that's as fast as they'll be able to go on pit road. Otherwise, there will be a penalty.
Well, Dave, the green is about to come out. Who are you picking to win this thing?
You know, I like last year's Rookie of the Year, Joe Nemechek. He's been second, he's been third. He hasn't won one yet. They came off the truck fast tonight, didn't change very much, qualified fourth. I think he's ready to win one. What do you guys think?
Well, I tell you what, I like Chuck Bound because this is his kind of racetrack. He's got lots of racing experience in the Busch Grand National. Bob, who's your pick?
Well, I'm going to go with Robert Presley, who sits outside of row number 1. He's had a very good recent performance, and I think he's going to win it here tonight, Robert Presley. We'll be back with the start of the Kroger 200 here at Indianapolis Raceway Park right after this. Indianapolis Raceway Park is sold out. The green flag is on, and the Kroger NASCAR 200 underway.
Robert Presley got all kinds of problems, just cannot get started. Looks like he has a problem this early on.
I know how to pick him, don't I, Benny?
I'm telling you.
He is already back to 6th position as he struggles to keep up. Here they come down for the completion of lap number 1. The leader is Ward Burton, followed by Bobby Labonte. Everybody through lap 1 in good shape as the field now begins to string out just a little bit and get in single file formation as Ward has opened up about a 5-car length advantage back in the Paxton positions being traded. That's the number 75 car driven by Butch Miller on the inside, a former winner here at the Kroger 200. Over the tread cam. Most of them will stay above. The tread cam is down on the inside of turn number 1, and most of these cars will try and stay above that.
I noticed that. Darrell Walter was trying to get on the inside of someone, was close to our tread cam.
And we'll go in Jeff Burton's car, Jeff Gordon's car, the CarQuest cage cam, as we take a lap around Indianapolis Raceway Park, 5/8 mile oval.
Here's the line going in turn 1. We see just how high these cars are right up against the outside retaining wall. As a matter of fact, during qualifying, several cars hit the outside retaining wall up in 3 and 4.
Jeff running in 9th position, and here is the battle up front. The battle is actually for 2nd position as the number 87 car, Joe Nemechek, begins to challenge Labonte for that 2nd spot. Chuck Bound is running back and forth.
Bound took a look on the inside, was not able to get by. Here he comes. Once again, he wants to go inside Nemechek, but he thinks better of it, stays up in the groove.
All right, it's a 200-lap race. They've got to stop once, right, Benny?
They have to stop once. And here comes Chuck Bound on the inside, trying to get by Nemechek.
Let's see what happens as they go into turn number 1.
Comes off the 2nd corner, still has an inside position, which is not really the preferred line here in Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Right number 87 is Nemechek, and that is Chuck Bound beating and banging on him as they come off of corner number 4, side by side, wheel to wheel. Kenny Wallace right behind, and so is Robert Presley.
They were doing some beating and banging, wasn't they?
And now Bound pulls a half a car length ahead as they come off the 2nd corner and down the backstretch, but Nemechek fights back on the outside, and now he has a full car length advantage. He takes over that position in turn 3.
Passes early on. Here comes Earnhardt. He's trying to get by. That's Elton Sawyer in the white 67, a car unfamiliar to the Busch Grand National Series fans. Elton Sawyer back. He was driving the 27 car earlier in the season.
Earnhardt started 24th. He's now up to 17th. Earnhardt is on the move in the black number 3.
Coming off turn 4, and look how high these cars are running on the up near the outside retaining wall. Back inside Jeff Gordon's car once again.
He's got side-by-side traffic ahead of him as he dives into turn number 3.
This is looking out the back the rear of the car. That I think is Jeff.
Yeah,
Burton behind him.
Yep, Jeff Burton. So it's Gordon looking back on Burton. There's Jeff in the middle of your screen. That is Hut Strickland driving the 28 car ahead of Jeff, and Burton behind him. All right, we've mentioned now that these guys will have to make one pit stop during this race. They'll have to. What's the strategy they're talking about down there, Dave?
Nobody's committing, really, Bob. They can go 185 laps, give or take, on fuel. In other words, they could almost go the distance. Obviously, the fuel is going to follow the yellows. If they get a yellow in the middle of the race, they'll fill the cars up and be ready to go to the end. Perhaps more critical is the tire strategy. They are required by rule, or more accurately, limited by rule, in what they can do regarding tire changes. Under a yellow, they can change one tire in each of the 4 positions: right front, right rear, and left rear. They'd like to get all the rights they can, but they don't get that opportunity. They can change one tire per position under yellow. Under green, they can do anything they want. And there's my guy, Joe Nemechek. I'm convinced he's going to the front.
Wait a minute. My guy's right behind him trying to get alongside of him. So
Nemechek is 3rd, and Chuck Bown is 4th, and right behind him would be Kenny Wallace, and then Robert Presley. Bound once again looking to the inside of Nemechek as the tread cam shows you the pictures from the Kroger 200 Busch Grand National Race at Indianapolis Raceway Park. We'll be right back.
Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park with a special edition of Saturday Night Thunder, and so far this one has been green and fast. Let's see if it'll stay that way as we go topside to Benny Parsons and Bob Jenkins.
This is 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th right here as Earnhardt now goes to the high side of Tommy Houston, and Barrier and Burton work together.
tell you what, going to the outside here is really tough because you have to be sure that fellow knows you're out there. Otherwise, when you come off the corner, you're going to run out of the racetrack, and the outside wall is going to greet you.
Now there goes Houston to the inside of Jeff Burton. They may have made contact coming off the second corner. Now Earnhardt will make it 3 abreast. No, now he slides in behind Tommy Houston. Let's get a report on the problems of Steve Grissom from Dave.
Now, you've heard that old $2 part thing often enough. You don't need to hear it again tonight. Actually, a distributor cap probably costs more than $2 these days, but it's got to be the most common woe when it comes to ignition problems. Steve Grissom is sidelined. Ignition is the problem. I'm not believing that that's all that's wrong. They can pop that cap in a hurry. Something else may be wrong, but it's definitely ignition related.
And the leader beginning to work some slower traffic out there. There is Ward going to the inside of the number 52 car, driven by Jeff Green, driver from Owensboro, Kentucky.
He's a younger brother of David Green, who's the leading rookie contender in the Busch Grand National Series this year.
And look at Labonte. He was 5, 6, 7 car lengths behind just a few minutes ago, and now he's close to within 2 as he tries to work to the inside of Jeff Green.
And there's the Todd Bodine car and Troy Beebe in front of these fellas. Also the Bobby Dotter car.
It's a pretty car, isn't it?
Beautiful car.
Pink. Hot pink.
Bobby's got a blue uniform. I said, man, you've got to get clean free to buy you a pink uniform like that. He turned about as pink as that race car when I mentioned that.
And the leader having trouble here with the 34 car of Todd Bodine. And speaking of sponsorship, he picked up some sponsorship on that car from Hungry Jack. And now Jeff Gordon and Hut Strickland are battling nose to tail out there. Here is Jeff trying to work to the inside of Hut, and that is for the 9th position. He's got it. Jeff Gordon, a nice move coming off of turn 4.
He does. You can't pull a slide job in these cars like you did in the sprint cars and the midgets.
So Strickland loses a position. How about that, Dave?
One more observation on driver suits, Benny. I like pink driver suits myself. Hut Strickland's got a great driver suit. He's got a borrowed car from Davey Allison. He's got a borrowed driving suit from guess who? Red Farmer. Guarantee you that costume's been to victory lane a time or two.
I guarantee you, if Red bought that uniform new back when he was a young man, that thing's about 50 years old.
It's got some wear on it. CarQuest, in-car camera, in Jeff Gordon's car, looking back on those following, as Jeff now has worked his way to 9th position, looking for his first Busch Grand National win, and even probably more important, some points for Rookie of the Year status, because he's second in the Rookie of the Year points right now. You can see he's in clear traffic as the thousands of people who have gathered here look on to the Kroger NASCAR 200 from Indianapolis Raceway Park. Ward Burton leading right now. Back in a moment. And it's Bobby Labonte in car number 44 sneaking up on the leader of the Kroger 200 here at Indianapolis Raceway Park on a special edition of Saturday Night Thunder. Ward Burton has been in the lead since the drop of the green flag. He was the pole sitter and new track record holder here, but Labonte is now within a car length as they work some of the slower traffic on the backstretch, passing the number 05 car of Richard Lasseter.
And here's Chuck Bound. Remember how far back he was, half straightaway? He's closed up 1, 2, 3, bumper to bumper, and DW, Darrell Waltrip, in the Western Auto Chevrolet in jeopardy of going a lap down, Robert.
Darrell just has not had a very good weekend here. He had to get into the field through a promoter's option, and now he is being lapped by the top 3. Bobby Labonte's last 3 finishes, a 37th, 11th, and a 25th. That certainly doesn't help when you're fighting for the Grand National points lead.
He was the leader 3 races ago, and now he's back in second, almost 190 points behind.
But now, on the other hand, the current leader in the points, Kenny Wallace, look at his finishes in the past 3 races. Very, very impressive performance by Kenny Wallace. A win, a second, and a second.
Man, I'm telling you what, that does help, especially when the fellow who was leading has 37th place finishes. Here's Jimmy Hensley trying to get by Kenny Wallace.
That is for 4th position, as Kenny Wallace has 4th right now. Jimmy Hensley now moves alongside him, and he's going to take over that 4th spot, and he did it with ease.
I tell you what, he really did it with ease. That tells me that Hensley, and he waved to Kenny Wallace and said, thanks for giving me some racing room. But I tell you what, as easy as that happened, I don't know, but what Hensley might be tough. There's Darrell Waltrip moved over to on the inside. You see Kenny Wallace go by. Here's Troy Beebe. He's going by.
And things just not going well for Darrell Waltrip this weekend. Dave Despain is with Eddie Jones.
Eddie Jones probably doesn't want to talk to me very much. What's going on with Darrell Waltrip down here this week?
Well, Dave, I don't think it's anything in the last 2 days we haven't had under the car. The car's always worked good on radio tires, and we don't seem to be able to get it to work on bias. It's a situation where we're doing the best we can to run the race, try for a good outcome.
Well, they're out there struggling for sure. They have just gone a lap down, and Eddie Jones says, man, we've used every part on the truck trying to get that thing right.
And as you can see, Steve Grissom, who was in the pits for quite a while, is back on the track. He just went around Darrell, so you can see that Darrell is just having a terrible evening.
I talked to Darrell before the race, and he said yesterday he hit the wall. We see how close these fellows are running to the wall. He hit it yesterday, and he bent the car up just a little bit. It really didn't hurt it. He said, but it didn't do any good, and it just can't find the handle after that slight brush with the wall.
Here come the first 3 down the main straightaway once again to complete the 42nd out of 200 laps. And Ward Burton continues to lead Labonte and Bound. Dale Jarrett, another one of those Winston Cup regulars, another one of those who is not having a particularly good evening. He's back in 21st position and doesn't seem to be moving up very fast.
Now we see him fighting the wheel as they come off the corner. I talked to John Irvin, the crew chief on that car, the Nestor Crunch Pontiac. He said they've been fighting the pushing problem. The car, when it gets in the corner, just wants to go straight into the wall, and they have just not been able to fix the car.
Dale Jarrett has 7 wins in this division, including 2 this year. He won at Rockingham and he won at Darlington.
He's got a long ways to go from 21st back to the front.
See how close he is to being lapped as here come the first three once again down the straightaway, and they chase down Dale Jarrett and try to put him a lap down.
Look at Bobby Donner. He's keeping up with this group since he was lapped just a little bit ago. There's Tracy Leslie before a gasket Oldsmobile. Going a lap down to the leader, Ward Burton, 27. Look at all these red cars. 4 red cars in the picture.
And a pink one.
And a pink one behind. And here's Labonte. Takes a look on the inside.
We mentioned that Ward Burton won his first pole in this division. However, this car was on the pole at Martinsville in March of this year when it was driven by Elton Sawyer. But Ward taking that car to a fine run here in the first quarter of this 200-lap race at Indianapolis Raceway Park.
There's Jack Ingram right in front of him. He's in jeopardy of going a lap down. I'll tell you, Ward Burton is really moving fast. And Bobby Labonte is not doing too shabbily either. Ward Burton qualified a new track record at, oh, he's into the wall.
Oh! He bumps the wall in turn number 2, and everybody goes beneath him. He went back to 3rd position.
He's going to lose more spots. Here goes Hensley.
There goes Hensley.
We said they run close to the wall, but not
You don't want to get quite that close. He hit it for a ton, and now the question is, did it hurt the car enough that it's going to make him uncompetitive for the rest of the evening?
I would say that probably has messed the toe end up a little bit. We'll just have to see if he can run competitively, but I would think that when the right front wheel hits the wall that hard, it's going to bend something enough that it's going to make the car hard to control.
Ward Burton led the first 47 laps of this race and then banged into the wall, giving the lead to Bobby Labonte, and now Chuck Bound runs in 2nd position. And let's take a look at it, Benny.
He goes down in turn 1, and he's a little bit higher than normal. And he thinks maybe the 44 car is on the inside of him. He wasn't. He goes in the corner. I think he gets in the loose stuff, and when the back end goes around, he has to go up the racetrack to catch it, and the wall was there. Wow.
Well, the car seems to be doing okay. He is back to 4th position now and holding it for the moment. As Jack Ingram is lapped by number 63, Chuck Bound, who's in 2nd spot. You're right, Bob Donner there in number 08 is staying up with the leaders, but he is a lap down.
He is moving. And Earnhardt goes in the pits. Dale Earnhardt has just went in the back pits. I know we're not seeing that on screen, but I just want to let you folks know that if you've been waiting, there he is. Earnhardt going to the right side. Looks like a simple tire change. Putting in fuel.
Putting in fuel, tire change going on. Gas can man signals he is finished, and now the tires are on, and Dale Earnhardt goes back into competition. This pit stop coming on lap number 50, just about a quarter of the way through the race. Earnhardt, who is pitted in the back, there are pits on the front side and the back side. His is in the back, and now he goes back out onto the racetrack, but Earnhardt goes down a lap. Now Dale Jarrett is being lapped. Labonte has already lapped him, and Chuck Bound moves alongside of Dale Jarrett, so he goes a lap down in the early going.
Ooh, and Dale Jarrett gets in the wall coming off turn 4. As these lap cars, as the leaders went by, they got Jarrett up in the loose stuff, and he banged in the wall.
Put a Darlington stripe on that car here at IRP, something that you don't want to do, and that car now moves rather slowly through turn number 2 and down the backstretch. Dale Jarrett bangs the wall coming out of 4.
These tires are getting worn. We've run over 50 laps. These tires getting worn, and all of a sudden, fellas having trouble controlling him.
Now, the leaders were lapping him, so he sort of moved up on the racetrack, but he got up a little high.
Yeah, he got in the loose stuff, and away he went.
Dale Jarrett falling back after hitting the wall, in fact, pitting after his incident with the wall here at IRP. Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park, special edition of Saturday Night Thunder. Grand National. Dale Earnhardt is back in the pits, and here is the reason why.
He's going by Morgan Shepherd. That's Morgan Shepherd, and Morgan doesn't realize he's there. He comes up the racetrack. Earnhardt We see him slam on the brakes trying to get out of there a little bit too late. He hits the wall and bends the car up enough that he's in the garage area.
Morgan Shepherd has been the man on the move since the drop of the green flag. He started 16th and is now up to 4th. But Dale Earnhardt cannot be a happy man as he is crawling out of the number 3 Goodwrench Chevrolet. And although he has a smile on his face, it appears as if his night is over. So back to the action on the racetrack now. Bobby Labonte in car number 24 is the leader of the race as he works heavy traffic now. And right behind him in second spot is Jimmy Hensley.
Jimmy Hensley has taken over that second spot, and he is the man on the move. Look how he closes up on the back bumper. Labonte goes by Ed Ferree, Tom Peck in the blue 96.
Labonte hoping to improve on the string of bad performances that he has had in the past few weeks and try to get up into a competitive situation and take over that points lead, hopefully from Kenny Wallace. Bobby Labonte, the leader of the race at the moment, and now Jimmy Hensley also working the slower traffic.
The red car right behind Hensley is Tracy Leslie, and Chuck Bound is a couple of cars behind him. As we see Hensley come off the corner, look to go 3 wide. I thought on the inside of the 44 car chose not to as they go by Hut Strickland. There he is in the Havoline Star car. Been lapped.
Strickland has lost a lap. There is Chuck Bound, who is 3rd, going to the inside of Hut Strickland, driving the Davey Allison car in relief of Davey, who's watching all of this from the pit area with a broken finger. And now the 72 car of Tracy Leslie is not on the lead lap, but staying right up there with him. Let's go to Dave Despain, who has Dale Earnhardt.
Dale, let's start with the first problem, the first pit stop. What was that about?
Well, the tires wore out on the right rear. We just slammed to the cords, and it wouldn't go no more. And I told Tony, it's Kenny Schrader's car we borrowed. And we said we changed some tires and go back out. And we went back out, and I was going to drive right by Morgan. I was on the outside of him going in one down there. He just drives up and hits and runs me into the wall. He's not paying attention to where he's going. He thinks he's the only man on the track.
You get a 6 Schrader on him when you get back?
Nah, it'll be okay. We're just happy to be up here.
But you don't figure Kenny will be mad at you for tearing up his race car.
Well, we didn't hurt it too bad. We busted the right front tire when we hit the wall. I don't think the cars hurt as much as my pride, but we'll be okay.
Well, they'll meet again on the Winston Cup track. That's Dale Earnhardt. He's done for tonight.
And it was interesting that he said he's just glad to be here, and I can show you about 25,000 fans that are very glad he came here tonight so they could see him run.
They were thrilled to death that they can watch that black number 3. He is obviously right now one of the most famous race cars in America. And here's Tracy Leslie trying to get by the leader.
He is trying to unlap himself, and look at this. Todd Bodine has his hand in the air. Todd has been off the pace all evening, and I think was just waving to the drivers behind him to go ahead and pass on the outside. He picked up sponsorship from Hungry Jack and Pillsbury just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and is very happy about his association with those people. Hopefully it's going to take him to the Winston Cup ranks.
He went out to qualify his first time out with a new sponsor, hit the wall trying to qualify. So Todd Bodine has got great things ahead of him. He's told me that this is a 3-year program with Pillsbury, Hungry Jack. This year, next year on the Busch Grand National, also 5 Winston Cup races next year. And in 1993, going to race for the championship for the Rookie of the Year. And look here, a crash. There's Lonnie Rush in the white 85 with some damage to the left front. All the cars keep going.
Lonnie Rush with extensive damage to the left front of that race car, but he stays on the gas. Now we have a yellow flag, the first of the evening. And we have debris on the backstretch, and obviously when Lonnie hit the wall, a piece of his car came off, landed on the racetrack, and on lap number 67, the yellow flag comes out for the first time tonight here at IRP. We're glad you could be with us for the Kroger NASCAR 200 from Indianapolis Raceway Park. We'll have more after this.
A special Saturday Night Thunder coming to you from Indianapolis Raceway Park. We've got Busch Grand National stock cars, and we are expecting a wholesale onslaught of pit road because the first yellow of the race has flown. Under the speed limit, they come down pit road, and we're in the pits of the leader, Bobby Labonte, and he is in for his stop along with Jimmy Hensley, the second-place car pitting right behind him, and the third-place man, Chuck Bound, who is on just down pit road. Labonte going to the right side first for tires, and now coming in is the Wallace car, which is going to make this a real traffic jam here. Labonte got right side tires, no lefts, even though they were free. Hensley did the same. It's a drag race out of the pits. Labonte just did get there first. Bound will go for a 4-tire change. Bound will change all 4 tires. He'll lose a lot of track position. Wallace got 2 tires, had to back up to get clear, and is back on the racetrack, but he lost a lot of positions as well.
Chuck Bound still in the pit area at the far end. Now that car begins to roll away. That was a long pit stop, and indeed he loses a lot of track position, but he took on 4 tires.
That's going to be a big advantage because we can see that tires very, very important this afternoon, tonight in the race. Here's Bobby Doddard coming in. There's that pink car we were talking about just a moment ago.
Sponsorship from Cling 3. The 99 of Jeff Burton pulls in and makes a pit stop just ahead of him. They go to work on the right side of Doddard's car. And it looks like they're making a major chassis adjustment there on the 99 car of Jeff Burton.
Also letting air out of the tires. So they are making a big adjustment. There's Kenny Wallace coming in. Now we've got a tire rule. As Dave Despain said, they can only change 4 tires. 4 tires is all they can change. So Chuck Bound cannot change any more tires tonight. Now the other fellows can come in and change the left sides.
And the pit man at the end of pit road making everybody wait a while. Now down to Dave Despain once again.
It was just a different strategy. They were blocked in behind Bound. I think they elected to go on out, get their right sides first, come back in, and then take the lefts on the second stop. Figured it wouldn't cost them any more positions. I'm not sure whether it did or not. We'll see if we can find out more about the problem on Chuck Bound's pit stop and sort out the running order after the stops when we return to Indianapolis Raceway Park. Stay with us. Saturday Night Thunder from Indianapolis, and will you look at the people here for the Busch Grand National race. Huge crowd tonight, big crowd last night actually for qualifying and for the pit stop competition, the preliminary to the event that's taking place here this evening. And we've got a report on the activity last night. Bob and Benny, tell us about what happened in the pit stop.
Well, Davey Allison, one of 2 Winston Cup drivers in the competition, his crew went to work. You notice that the Jackman making very good time, and so is everybody else, changing tires on the right side of that car.
Right rear man having a little bit of problems now. Lug nut fell off. The Jackman has to go down, help him out. The car is away.
22 seconds, but a penalty because of loose lug nuts for Davey Allison. Now watch to go out was Kenny Wallace.
Now watch this. Bernie goes around. See the Jackman fall? He gets up. Now watch this pit stop. He gets up. He throws the jack under the car. Their car goes up, and they have a normal pit stop.
But it's unbelievable. Bob Ellis, the Jackman in that fall, broke his foot in 4 places, but notice it's not affecting him at all. 18.749 on the Kenny Wallace pit stop with no penalties.
That is unbelievable that the guy was able to do that. Here comes Dale Jarrett in the crunch car.
He was the 9th to go out, and the defending champion of the pit stop contest. Great pit stop here for Dale Jarrett. Look at the quick work by the tire changers on the right side of the car.
Kenny Knupp on the right front. He's already finished. The right rear finishes. Jack
Great
goes down.
17.019, but a 6-second penalty because of a loose lug nut. Here's Joe Nemechek, who was 12th to go out in the competition.
And everyone is cleaning the windshield just like you normally would on a pit stop. Right side, all the right rear men are a little bit slower than the front because they have to go around the rear of the car.
18.672, no penalties. Joe Nemechek in the lead at that point.
When that flag comes down, that means the crew can then go across pit wall. This is David Green.
David Green's crew going to work. Changing the tires on the right side. Fuel being added there in the left rear of the car. And a great stop, 18.003. That put him in the lead, knocking Nemechek out of the top spot. But look at this. Here comes Chuck Bown.
Chuck Bown, he is cleaning the windshield. Now watch him for cleaning the windshield. He's going to wipe that thing completely out. Great pit stop.
17.181. Don't you think this pit crew is happy? Rodney Middlebrooks there saying, we won this thing with a 17.181. Chuck Bown and crew win the pit stop competition here at IRP. There is Chuck Bown on the racetrack. Here is Dave Despain with the crew.
You know the old saying that what you did yesterday doesn't count for very much. Yesterday they won the pit crew competition, but Jeff Hensley, you just had a terrible pit stop here. What happened?
Well, it really wasn't that bad a stop. We took on 4 and everybody else took on 2, and we went from 3rd to 7th, and we got 4 fresh tires and they've only got 2, so it was a little deceiving. We took on 4.
So there was no malfunction on the air wrench?
We had a little trouble on the left front, but it didn't hurt us any.
Okay, sounds good. Congratulations on winning the pit stop competition. Jeff says, hey, it was no problem. We won yesterday. We're going to win again tonight. That is Chuck Bown's car up in 7th place on the racetrack. We'll be back to the action, see how Robbie Gordon does here when we return.
Here comes the pace car off of turn number 4 as we are set to go back to green from our first caution flag of the evening, and the Kroger 200 resumes.
As Resendiz on the outside, a slower car. This is exactly opposite what you would normally see in a Winston Cup race. The slower cars on the inside, just reversed. There we see Dick Trickle in the white 92, David Green in the black 8. This is for the lead.
David Green in car number 8 is the leader with Dick Trickle right behind, looking to the inside as they came down the straightaway. A lot of traffic behind. They're more abreast down the straightaway.
There's Jimmy Hensley in the dark car on the inside of Bobby Labonte. Takes that spot away. I guess that's for 3rd.
Never count out Jimmy Hensley. He is competitive just about everywhere he goes. Now the battle for the lead. Trickles again looks to the inside of the 08 car, or the 8 car of David Green.
Just can't make it. These cars did not stop in pit a moment ago, so they have some worn tires on their car.
Boy, Dick Trickle has won more races than probably anybody else in this field in ARTCO ASA competition, and he's run this track a lot.
He told me he'd run this year about twice a year for the last 20 years, but right now they got problems because Jimmy Hensley with his fresh tires, it's just a matter of time until he gets some clear racetrack.
Trickle hanging in there on the low side of the racetrack as up above him it is Green and Jimmy Hensley.
Trickle has no choice now. He has no place to go. He might as well go and try his best to take the lead. Because right now, if he backs up, watch all these cars.
Oh, a spin. Chuck Bown is involved in number 4. Chuck Bown right in the middle of the racetrack, headed the wrong direction. I believe that Morgan Shepherd may have been involved in that crash also, Benny.
Yes, Morgan Shepherd did make contact with Chuck Bown as he came off the corner. We don't see a lot of damage to the left side of the car, but ooh, the right front tire is flat. That brand new tire he put on just a few laps ago.
So that time they spent in the pits putting on all 4 new tires is for naught, because I think both of them on the right side are flat as he makes contact with Morgan Shepherd in turn number 4, spins around and now heads for the pit area.
Well, you know, we talked to Jeff Hensley, the crew chief on the car. He felt like, and we see the left rear tire also flat on the car, so I don't know. That might have caused the spin initially.
All right, let's take a look at it. Watch here in the left of your screen.
I see why the left rear is flat, because he made contact with Elton Sawyer in the white 67, and that's what spun him initially, and we see Morgan Shepherd come along in pretty good lick in the right front of that car.
Yeah, Morgan's car has to be pretty badly damaged, too, especially in the left front, as he took a pretty good shot from Chuck Bown.
I was talking about Jeff Hensley. Felt that they changed 4 tires. They thought it was perfect strategy. But what it did was get him back in the middle of the pack, and this is the end result. Right now he's trying to stay out, catch up with the field before he can go in the pits and again change the 2 tires that's flat. He can't change the other 2 tires. He can only change the tires that are flat.
Dave Despain will be there to see how this procedure goes.
Chuck Bound's season has certainly been up and down. He's the only man to win 3 races this year. It's going to be tough to win this one after having to go to the right side and change the flat tire first on the right front. I'll tell you, that left rear is also flat, and as I interpret the rules, he should be allowed to change that one as well. This should be a 3-tire stop for Bound, which is pretty unusual. They will not change the flat left rear. They're going to try to get him out and keep him on the same lap. He's back out there with a flat tire on the left rear.
Yeah, he's going to make it and not lose a lap, and of course he'll just drive around, come in again, get the next tire changed, and hopefully going to stay on the lead lap.
Wow, I saw that right rear tire. I thought the rear end housing was bent.
Yeah, it did look like it, didn't it? There's the 97 car.
67.
Or 67, rather, of Elton Sawyer in for a stop. They're changing tires on the right side of that machine.
That's the fellow that hit the right front. His right front hit the left rear and caused this flat on Chuck Bound's car.
Bound will come in once again, and now they'll change the left rear on that race car.
Just an observation here, an observation as we wait for Bound to return on this whole business of tires. He's in. Let's check and make sure that this stop is routine as it can be under the circumstances. They won't do anything but get that tire changed quickly and try to get him back out. Again, they are allowed to change the tire under the yellow flag precaution rule. NASCAR doing their best to conserve the tires. Again, the race is back to the racetrack. Ooh, and he almost got clipped as he heads back out, but again, saved his lap. That's good work. They did their thing. Now, quick point about the tires. The crew chief for David Green, Gil Martin, I asked him why they stayed out instead of taking that last yellow. He said, hey, if the tires won't last the first half of the race, they're not going to last the second half. We'll wait till the halfway point, then make our stop.
Benny, this is good old-fashioned Saturday night short track stock car racing, isn't it? I mean, it's more than just getting out there and driving as hard as you can and seeing if you can win. It's situations like this. You go into the pits, you change tires, you stay on the lead lap, you do everything you can.
Exactly. Perfect Saturday night race, and these folks kind of enjoy it.
And you're enjoying a special edition of Saturday Night Thunder as we're at Indianapolis Raceway Park for Busch Grand National Racing, and the Kroger 200 now is 85 laps old. And the Kroger 200 is back under green on lap number 88.
David Green trying to get the lead. He's on the inside the leader, but ooh, and look, there's the 68 car. That's Bobby Hamilton up. He has a flat tire. We see the car wiggling back and forth. Or I think it's a flat tire. Maybe he was just sideways.
One of those Winston Cup intruders that Dave talked about at the open of the show. Having bad luck here tonight as Bobby Hamilton is slow on the racetrack. Here comes Chuck Bound. That car has been repaired from the incident there in turn number 4 a few laps ago. All the tires are up now, and Chuck Bound is doing well.
That's unbelievable. That car is able to run with a lick in it, too. Here's Hut Strickland on the inside of the 8 car. David Green trying to get a lap back. Meanwhile, Jimmy Hensley trying his best to get in front.
Oh, look at the contact there. Bobby Hamilton got him pretty good, forcing him up into the wall.
I see exactly what he hit the wall pretty doggone good. We see him, what, 4 abreast there.
The 25 car of Jimmy Hensley now is the leader of the race as he was able to pass Green.
And we've got Bobby Labonte, who has 2 fresh tires on his car, back in 4th spot. The first red car we see is Bobby Labonte, but he has a couple of cars between he and Hensley, the leader.
There goes Hensley to the inside of Hut Strickland.
Trying to put Hut a lap down.
And he will successfully do so going into turn number 3. Hensley, the leader of the Kroger 200 as we near the halfway point. Lap number 92 is in the books. 8 to go to the halfway point.
You can see just how close these drivers do get to that outside retaining wall, and all it takes is just a slight slip. Bang, as we saw Ward Burton do earlier. And there's Hut Strickland.
Hut Strickland is in trouble as that car is high on the racetrack. And, oh, he's tucked by Resendiz, and now Donner hits him in the rear end, and he spins around. But is going to get headed back in the right direction. I don't believe it's going to create a yellow, no yellow at the moment as we watch the flag stand, and Donner gets the car headed in the right direction, so there will be no yellow after that spin by Bobby Donner.
Well, he mashed up the nose of that Buick, didn't he? What happened? Hutt was trying to get in the pits, and the fellow's trying to go by him on the inside. Clipped him. Resendez did.
Bobby Donner came along, and you will notice, hits him in the rear end.
There we see David Hutt, I should say, trying to get to the inside. He clipped Resendez, and Bobby Donner has no place to go. They're right in the back of him.
So the no yellow, and the race continues, and one of the competitors who had moved up so strong in the early portion of this race, Morgan Shepherd, is out, and he's with Dave.
Morgan, let's take the incidents in order. First of all, Dale Earnhardt said you bumped him, did you?
Yeah, Dale got up on the outside of me, and I didn't know he was there. I reckon he'd come in and changed tires or something, and I just didn't realize he was there.
What happened? You're the only guy ever to win this thing 3 times. You end up with a bent-up race car. What happened then to put you out? How'd that one take place?
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be our 4th time because the Texas Speed Southern Virginia Ford was really running good, was coming to the front. We just come in, made our pit stop, and it was going to take our time coming up, but a couple cars got together in front of us and spun, and I just got involved in the accident.
Come back next year and win it again, okay?
All right, thank you.
Morgan Shepherd is out of it, and Bobby Labonte's on the move. Let's get back to the action.
Bobby Labonte is moving out. Robert Presley is right behind him. They have passed the number 8 car of David Green that was the leader just a few laps ago.
But we still have the 25 car of Jimmy Hensley leading the race. And the 27 car of Warren Burton. Remember, he hit the wall earlier. He is in 2nd place. And here's 3rd and 4th.
We're inside Jeff Gordon's car, the CarQuest in-car camera with the shots tonight from Indianapolis Raceway Park. Jeff, by the way, as we ride with him, hangs on to the 8th spot. Carolina Ford dealer's machine. There he is on the racetrack. Just ahead of him is Dick Trickle. And there are the cars that have dropped out of the competition so far. Cecil Eunice, Dale Earnhardt, and Morgan Shepherd, who Dave just talked with. And there is Nemechek getting a little bit sideways coming out of the corner.
I tell you, these fellas are really getting excited out there. They're going for it with all their might. Nemechek got bumped a little bit coming off turn 4, and sideways he went. But he never backed off the throttle.
Jimmy Hensley comes off the number 4 corner and completes 100 laps. There's a halfway point, and look, Jeff Gordon and Dick Trickle are still going at it, and Chuck Bound and Nemechek are touching.
Man, I'm telling you. Chuck Bound has fresh tires on his car. It's been up, but at least he has fresh tires, so he's going to the front pretty good. Meanwhile, Trickle's caught on the outside with worn tires. He's having problems.
Trickle begins to drop back. Something has gone wrong with that car because he's being passed on the inside. Here comes Tommy Houston in the 6th car to pass Dick Trickle. He's fighting it as he comes off the corner.
I think his biggest problem is he did not stop and change tires. But they talked a little bit ago. If the tires won't last 100 laps, how are they going to last the last 100 laps? But he did not stop. These other fellas did, and that's why he's at such a disadvantage right now.
Look at Chuck Bound right on the back bumper of Jeff Gordon. Now looking to the inside. And we got a crash up in turn 3. 2 cars involved in a crash in turn number 3, including Hutt Strickland. And the other car involved is the 99 of Jeff Burton.
That's the Armour Meats car, and some heavy damage to Jeff Burton's car.
The yellow flag comes out for the 3rd time tonight. Heavy damage to Jeff Burton's machine.
Looks like the right front tire has hit the wall hard, and the left front has been clipped by another car, the 28 car of Hutt Strickland. Just looking at the damage, that looks like what happened. But,
Well, Jeff scored his first career victory at Martinsville last year on ESPN. Do you remember that?
Geez.
I remember the Victory Lane celebration, don't you?
I do.
With his girlfriend.
Kim Brown. I saw Kim and Jeff down today, and I tell you what, every time I see that girl, I remember her. There's Davey Allison talking to Hutt, seeing how his car is. He's telling the crew.
Hutt Strickland's car is at the bottom of the racetrack. A safety worker is at the side of it talking to Hutt. He appears to be okay. The car is stopped, though, on the low side of the racetrack, while Jeff Burton's car is up against the wall in turn number 3.
And that's a Chevrolet. The 28 car is a Chevrolet that Davey Allison's driving on the Winston Cup. It's a Ford, but on the Busch Grand National, he chooses a Chevrolet.
Yep, Winston Cup Ford, Busch Grand National Chevrolet.
That's a Buick. Is it a Buick? Yeah, I believe it is.
Well, it isn't a Ford. Let's put it that way.
It's a General Motors product.
Winston Cup Racing. That's right. Yellow flag out for the 3rd time here tonight on a special edition of Saturday Night Thunder from Indianapolis Raceway Park. Jimmy Hensley leads the Kroger 200.
Get up bright and early tomorrow morning for the racing action on ESPN. The Grand Prix of Hungary kicks things off at 7:55 a.m. So be sure and catch all the Formula One action. We're at Indianapolis Raceway Park with the stock cars. Remember the end of last year when Dale Earnhardt had the problem with the broken crankshaft? I carried this thing around in my pocket for all these months. No, actually, this isn't Dale's camshaft, but it is a broken camshaft, and it brings up the subject of this week's track fact. Performance and durability is pretty important in this particular engine department, so we went south and checked it out. This ESPN Track Fact is brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q is one tough motor oil. Where better to find out about camshafts than Competition Cams in Memphis, Tennessee? Cam makers for a variety of racing applications. The first concern for the cam maker is to exactly duplicate the engine builder's specifications in the area of lift and duration. So what you see here is the grinding of a template that will actually create the model for the camshafts themselves, which are ground from that template. Note how the grinding head moves back and forth following the template and producing the exact lift and duration in the cam lobes. But that steel billet from which this camshaft is made is actually harder than the surface of the lifter that will ride on it. And so a softer material is then welded onto the face of the lobe, a material that more precisely matches the lifter itself. That is then ground back down to the precise specifications. The entire thing kept at the proper temperature throughout the process. Do it right, you'll have performance and durability. Everything you always wanted to know about camshafts. We're at Indianapolis Raceway Park with the stock cars and the guys who know everything about this series. Look what's happening with the picks to win the race. My guy's nowhere near the front, but as we go back to green, look at Benny's guy right up front. Back to Benny and Bob.
Yeah, my guy isn't doing real good. Oh, look, Ward Burton in trouble as the green flag comes out in turn one, and a big crash as numerous cars are going to be involved in this one.
This is a big-time crash with 5 or 6 cars involved. And it looked like that Ward Burton went down in turn one and the right front tire was flat because the car just simply refused to turn.
A lot of damage to a lot of cars. There's Ward backing up in the 27 car and trying to get headed in the right direction. And the 79 car belongs to Dave Rezendes as there is extensive front-end damage to that machine. There goes Jimmy Hensley and the rest of the field by on the high side of the racetrack.
And see all the debris from these cars laying on the racetrack, so if you don't have a flat tire, you're probably going to have one by the time you run through all this debris.
Well, we've had crashes before, but this is the first major one. It involves 5, 6, maybe even 7 cars, and it comes on lap number 113. And there is Rezendes' badly damaged machine, and the 36 car of Kenny Wallace has also sustained some damage.
This is our Busch Series point leader, and some heavy damage to the car. And look, the left front tire is going the wrong direction. And some damage to the right side. Kenny still goes around the racetrack trying to get, he saved a lap. I tell you what, he might have won the battle. He might have lost the war trying to get that car back.
So he stays out there while the pack forms behind the pace car, but both tires on the left side of this machine are down.
Both the left side tires, and look, as I said, he might have won the battle beating them back to the line, but I don't know if he'll be able to get back to the pits.
Well, he's in the middle of the backstretch right now, and that car is going very slowly as that rim rubs on the racetrack and sends a shower of bright sparks into the Indiana nighttime. And, hey, Benny, you've been in these situations before. Here's a young driver who's just taken over the points lead and wanting to win the Grand National Championships in hopes of it carrying him to greatness in Winston Cup, and you suffer something like this.
He's not thinking about points or anything else. All he's thinking about right now is let's get this thing back to the pits and fix it. Look at the rear jumping up and down. There's something in the rear of the car that's damaged. Dave Despain, you've got a wreck coming your way.
No doubt about it. It won't even crawl in a straight line as it comes in. Left front was where the initial contact was made. It's all bowed in against the wheel, and in fact the wheel is badly bent. I think they're going to be able to get the wheel off without any difficulty. The initial effort will be on the left side of the car, and the NASCAR inspectors are right there, primarily for the purpose of ensuring that they don't send the car back out in a dangerous state. In other words, they don't want the wheels falling off of it and so forth. There'll be a lot more concern on the second stop, which I'm sure is coming. So they are basically working on the left side. It's a major body job. I think this is going to take a while. And Jeff Gordon not Robbie Gordon. Jeff Gordon didn't get through that unscathed. He's got some right front damage as well. Bobby Donner is just coming down pit road. He's got the right front all crunched up. So it was a multi-car tangle for sure. And I think we've got another look at it as we watch Kenny Wallace wait disconsolately for his car to become rolling stock once again.
It happened just as the green flag came out, Benny.
It looked like the 27 car, as I said, the car just wouldn't turn. He goes up, hits Kenny Wallace. We see Kenny back in the wall and black car on just the left side of the screen. And meanwhile, the 27 car stopped in the middle.
Now let's go inside Jeff Gordon's car and see how he became involved.
Ooh, there's the 49 car directly in front of him, so he took a direct hit on the right front.
There were 7 cars involved in that crash, including Wallace and Gordon, also the 33 of Ed Barrier. Of course, Ward Burton was also involved in the crash. Dave Resendiz, as Wallace waits for the crew to get this car fixed so he can get back there in competition. And they're also working on Jeff Gordon's car, as the Carolina Ford dealer's machine has been damaged, but hopefully not out of this Kroger 200 on Saturday Night Thunder from Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Ward Burton, let's talk about the big crash just as we went green. What happened?
Well, the Gwaltney Big 8 Buick was running great. We're running second, and the accelerator hung on it wide open when I went in the first corner down to restart. And tried to get to the kill switch in time, and I had the brakes all the way down. And I know I caused a huge crash, but just one of them things that, you know, the corners are so tight here. Once it held wide open, I just went straight to the wall. But the car's been running great. We get all these little bugs out, and we're going to take it to the winner's circle.
It's good to see you on the pole. Good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks a lot. We're going to get it.
Ward Burton, he's out of it.
Green flag comes out. We're back to racing on the 124th lap now. Jimmy Hensley, the leader of the race in car number 25, as they head down the backstretch for the first time. 7 cars were involved in that crash that began when the accelerator stuck wide open on Ward Burton's car. Now, one of those involved was Jeff Gordon, but we ride with him, and apparently Jeff got the repairs done to that car.
Looks like that the damage was not that severe. He's back on the racetrack. Sheet metal's cut away and back racing again.
CarQuest in-car camera with Jeff Gordon as he maneuvers around this 5/8 mile track at Indianapolis Raceway Park in our final Saturday Night Thunder edition for 1991. Dave?
Quick observation about Jeff Gordon. He was involved in that altercation in turn 1. We checked with car owner Bill Davis. He said the steering is a little bit off, but it's not just right terrible, I believe was the way he put it. So they think they still get out there and race.
Well, he'll be very competitive to the end if he can be. Meanwhile, here are your first 3. It is Jimmy Hensley, Bobby Labonte, and look at Chuck Bound and all the problems he has had tonight.
And look at this Tommy Houston. The blue and white car, number 6, is Tommy Houston, and he looks like a rocket ship compared to these other cars.
So it is now Jimmy Hensley leading as Tommy Houston runs in 3rd spot.
The dark car, car 25, the leader, and here comes Chuck Bound. Can you believe this guy trying to take the lead?
I cannot believe it. After all he has been through, he takes the lead. Chuck Bound is in the lead, passing Jimmy Hensley.
This has got to make ridiculous, believe it or not. This guy was like a cue ball a moment ago. He was banging around. Morgan Shepherd banged into him.
He came into the pits about 4 times to change 4 flat tires that were on the car, and now he's in the lead.
Man. Uh-oh, here's another crash. There's Ed Barrier around, and that looks like Ronnie Rush backed up against the outside retaining wall. This is turn 4 again.
And it's our 5th caution of the evening. Both cars are okay. They are still under power. That is Ed Barrier down the straightaway as the 85 car of Lonnie Rush Jr. heads on to pit road. There's Ed Barrier. And we'll take a look at how he became involved in the incident up in turn number 4.
And look, Lonnie Rush blew a right rear tire, and around the car went like a top, and Ed Barrier was trying to dodge him, and he spun out.
So all are okay, despite the fact that we have our 5th caution of the evening. All may not be okay with Kenny Wallace. How about it, Dave?
Certainly not. They're under there with the torches fixing everything in sight in the rear end of this car. Kenny, they say that overcoming hardship is one measure of a champion. I guess that's what you're here for tonight, huh?
Well, you know, anytime you get them double file restarts and you get, you know, slower cars on the outside, you know, that's what bit us there. They got the racing pretty hard, and I guess the 27 car comes sliding down the track and just barely got it right rear. You know, we're championship contenders. We'll be back next week. We'll go to Orange County, and we'll try to win that thing.
You and your championship rival, Labonte, have both had kind of roller coaster seasons. It doesn't seem like either of you can get on a roll that'll stick. How big a heartbreak is this for you?
Well, it hurts pretty bad, but I'm trying to pump myself back up right now. You know, it hurts bad to see Bobby and them boys out there running. I can't stand being in the pits. You know, I'm a competitor, and I like to run up front. It'd have been just great. We just got the car the way I wanted it. I was pacing. We had the right side tires being easy. That's the name of the game here at IRP, is keeping the right side tires in the car. So, you know, we'll be back next week. We'll try to get this Cox Tree Lumber County car fixed and go at it.
Worst feeling in the world. He's sitting here in the pits. They're getting ready to go green on the racetrack.
And indeed, the green flag comes back out. And for those of you who saw Speed Week last week when we went through a preview of this race, you saw how Kenny wanted to perform well here because he considers this his home racetrack.
His home racetrack. St. Louis, he grew up just about 200 miles from here, and he felt like there'd be hundreds of fans here rooting him on. Look, Dale Jarrett is trying to get a lap back.
And he does get a lap back, and that means that there are 13 cars now on the lead lap, led by Chuck Mound, but he has his hands full with Jimmy Hensley, who pulls alongside on the inside. In turn number 1, now drops back behind him. Hensley looking for the lead. The 59 car of Robert Presley apparently will be black flagged for a pit violation. So the guy that I picked to win this race is going to be black flagged, while the guy that Benny picked, oh boy, I hate to admit this, but the guy Benny picked is leading the race.
There we see Robert Presley, the Alliance Truck Center's automobile, and he has been black flagged for changing a right front tire on the caution flag that he had already changed before. This is a 2-lap penalty. Dave Despain told you earlier in the race you can only change 1 tire per position. He had already changed the right front tire. He came in, changed it again. Now he's been penalized for 2 laps. This was our outside pole sitter, a fellow who had a heck of a chance winning.
And he was running in the top 5, has been just about all evening. The point standings in Rookie of the Year competition, David Green on top with Jeff running in 2nd position. Then Tracy Leslie, Ed Faree, and Troy Beebe are the top 5 points getters in the Rookie of the Year standing in Grand National competition. And we are with Jeff Gordon, who is on the lead lap in 10th position. Here's another guy, of course, who considers this his home racetrack. He only lives about 8 miles down the road and has driven many, many a mile in sprint and midget competition on this racetrack. And you can see there is David Green just ahead of him on the racetrack. Not only ahead of him on the racetrack, but has the slight advantage in points in the Rookie of the Year. Dick Trickle running in 6th and Green in 7th position, as both of these cars are on the lead lap, and we have 60 laps to go in the Kroger 200, and the battle is for 2nd spot.
That's Dale Jarrett in the blue and white number 32. He's a lap down. Chuck Mound was able to get by him and put him a lap down. Meanwhile, Jimmy Hensley and Tommy Houston, the 2nd, 3rd place cars. Hensley in the dark blue 25. The blue and white 6 is Houston. That's 2nd and 3rd. They're having trouble getting by Dale Jarrett. And if you look at the 25 car real close, folks, you'll see that it doesn't say anything on a quarter panel, which is very unusual in Busch Grand National or Winston Cup racing today. But Don Beverly out of Richmond, Virginia, is going to try, and he said, we're going to contend this car. The crew is doing a great job. Jimmy Hensley does a great job. I'm going to give it a shot as long as I can. And he's been out here all year long with no sponsorship.
And yes, that is the drag racing Don Beverly.
Exactly.
Jimmy Hensley has won twice this year in Grand National competition at Martinsville and at Hickory. And Jimmy Hensley was the winner of this race back in 1985, trying to put Dale Jarrett a lap down. There's Tommy Houston in car number 6. And Tommy Houston has driven a very consistent race here this evening, as he always does. He began this race from the 13th starting position. And he finds finds himself in third at the end of 144 laps. So Tommy Houston very much in the thick of things here in the Kroger 200. We're glad you could join us on this special edition of Saturday Night Thunder. We have Busch Grand National Racing. More coming up. Just a few moments ago, we documented David Green's performance, but hey, look at this. He's just banged the third turn wall and has come in with some tire damage, at least there on the right front.
He's broken a suspension part. It looks like the ball joint or something, the A-frame, something like that has broken on the car, because when they jack the car up, the right front is just going to drop completely down.
So the Owensboro, Kentucky driver, David Green, being checked over. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon is not doing all that well. It has been reported that this car is missing, and that's going to mean that Jeff Gordon is going to be dropping back. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, there is Jeff in the Carolina Ford Dealers Ford car number 1. Jeff Gordon from Pittsboro, Indiana.
I'll tell you what, this has been a tough race tonight. There's very few cars running around tonight that doesn't have some type of damage on them.
The 25, the 6, and the 44 are all battling for position. These cars aren't showing a whole lot of damage.
They aren't. These are probably the only 3 cars on the racetrack that doesn't have battle scars of some kind.
Second, third, and fourth as Chuck Bound there in the red car. The bottom of your screen leads. That's Dale Jarrett, the lap car. And then second, third, and fourth, Hensley, Tommy Houston, and Bobby Labonte.
You saw the car right in front of this trio of cars was Dale Jarrett. Remember, he hit the wall. That's Dale Jarrett right to the left of your screen. He hit the wall up turn 4 later on. But he's back on the racetrack. Looks like his car is running well. Chuck Bound spun around like a top. He's leading the race.
We've got 49 laps to go, and in case you just joined us, Dale Earnhardt was not long in this race, suffering some problems that put him behind the wall. Darrell Waltrip has had an absolutely miserable weekend here in Indianapolis as he had to get into the field through the promoter's option. He didn't last very long. Dale Jarrett, another one of the Winston Cup competitors, has lost a lap. And so we are seeing that the regular Grand National drivers are predominating here tonight. Another Winston Cup regular, Morgan Shepherd, is also behind the wall.
And Hut Strickland, who was relieving for Davey Allison, is behind the wall. So all the Winston Cup drivers behind the wall except Dale Jarrett.
And he is a lap down. And the defending champion of this series is leading the race while we focus in on this battle for second and third position. There the cars are lapping Lonnie Rush Jr., who's been involved in a couple of skirmishes out there. You can see the damage on the left front of the car. And we mentioned the fact that Jeff Gordon's car may be missing. Let's get more on that story from Dave.
Bill Davis owns that car. You had a handling problem after the crash, but you got a worse problem now. What's going on?
Yeah, the handling problem is not too bad. The car is really not good. It's not terrible. We've got some sort of ignition problem, either in the ignition box or the battery. It misses at the end of the straightaway, and of course, it's lost a lot of power.
Let me ask you a broader question. What do you like about Jeff Gordon? What attracted you to this kid?
I like everything about Jeff Gordon. There's nothing I don't like about Jeff Gordon. He's a wonderful young man, a great talent. He's got a wonderful future.
All right, good luck to you the rest of the night. Is that Hensley moving up out there? What's going on the racetrack, guys?
Well, actually, it's Tommy Houston who has passed Jimmy Hensley for second position, as Bobby Labonte now appears to be in a position to try to take the third spot away from Hensley. So Hensley is losing more than he's gaining.
He sure is. He's lost the handle all of a sudden. The car just stopped gripping the racetrack like it did earlier as Labonte goes by almost uncontested.
Bobby Labonte in number 44 moves to third, and Jimmy Hensley in 25 moves back to fourth position. Tom Peck being lapped in car number 96. So Bobby Labonte stands to gain as far as the NASCAR Grand National points are concerned, because Kenny Wallace remains behind the wall after being involved in a crash. But Bobby Labonte now moves to that third position. And you're right, Hensley has lost the handle there all of a sudden as Labonte begins to pull away from him.
Yes, in just 2 laps, he's pulled away 5 or 6 car lengths. And Tommy Houston has pulled 2 or 3 car lengths on Labonte.
Butch Miller in car number 75, a former winner of this race, is in for a pit stop. Butch took home the winner's trophy here in 1986. Butch 5 laps down and is going to go more down as tires are changed on that car. But now the crew begins to push the Food Country car away with 40 laps to go in the Kroger 200. Well, as we said earlier, you can't get another person into Indianapolis Raceway Park tonight as they're enjoying, as we hope you are, the special Saturday Night Thunder and the Kroger 200. We'll be right back. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, and Dave Despain back on Saturday Night Thunder. ESPN Speed World at Claremont, Indiana, Indianapolis Raceway Park, and the NASCAR Kroger 200 Busch Grand National Race. You're watching second and third positions here. Tommy Houston in car number 6 and Bobby Labonte in car number 44. Dave Despain, a few weeks ago, you talked about the family aspect in racing, and you've got a perfect example of it right here.
Well, we sure do. Tommy Houston's son is the crew chief. Scott Houston, we're getting late in the race. You're getting faster. Was that a strategic decision? Did you plan it that way?
Well, yeah, he's laying back a little bit there at the first after those new tires, and he's going pretty hard right now. Caution's been nice, bunch it up a little.
Everybody'd like to get a chance once in a while to tell their old man what to do. Are you telling him what to do tonight?
Nah, he's telling us what he's doing. He's got us in suspense right now.
Dad drives the car. Junior's the crew chief. Dad's still calling the shots.
Tommy Houston, a great veteran of the Busch Grand National Series, but Bobby Labonte is knocking on his door.
He is knocking on the door and the rear bumper as well. The last time they came off turn 4, there was some contact between these two cars. This time they came off clean. Meanwhile, Labonte tries to get underneath the 6 car. This is the second corner going down the back.
Houston moving ahead at the middle of the backstretch, and as they set the cars into turn number 3, Houston maintains second spot, but Labonte looks to the inside once again as they come off the 4th corner and race around the straightaway, and they're side by side as they go into 1.
Blair Wright says we need a slide job here by Labonte. But he didn't do it. They're side by side. If he can just get a grip going off the second corner.
This battle for second, Labonte and Houston.
I'll tell you what, you got to work for every inch you get around this racetrack. It's inch by inch passing these cars, and he's not able to make the pass. Houston hangs on.
You also got to have trust of the guy that you're racing with.
I guarantee you that. And it's evident these two fellas do trust each other.
Well, while those two race for their second position, Chuck Bounce says, you just go right ahead and do that, guys, because I'll motor away from you. Chuck has a pretty substantial lead route right now. It's more than a half a straightaway as he has the lead here in the Kroger 200, and Houston and Labonte battle for second. Some of the cars out of the race, there's going to be quite a few of them. Cecil Eunice, as we show you there, some of the Winston Cup drivers that were not long. Strickland and Darrell Waltrip were out early. Ward Burton got involved in a crash. He was the pole sitter. Bobby Dotter has dropped out of competition. Meanwhile, Labonte and Houston are still side by side out there as they come up on a slower car. That's the 33 car of Ed Ferrier.
And there we go back up to Dale Jarrett, who's a lap down, and right in front of Dale Jarrett.
There he is. Chuck Bow, the defending champion of the series. Kenny Wallace, meanwhile, the points leader in Grand National competition this year. He is back in the racetrack after a very long pit stop.
He must have spent 30, 40 laps behind the pit wall repairing damages to the car that he suffered in a crash. We can see the sheet metal banged up on the car, and that wasn't all of it banged up. He had tires going north and some of them going south.
He is in 23rd position as he comes back out onto the racetrack. There are 7 cars on the lead lap, and the best battle on the surface of the racetrack continues to be this one for second place.
You know, we had a graphic just a moment ago that Bobby Donner's out of the race. Boom, there he went down the front straightaway.
Meanwhile, Jimmy Hensley has dropped back significantly in the last few laps. Dave, what's the story?
Benny, you call called that one as a bad push on Hensley's car. Bobby King, the crew chief, said right out of nowhere, it just started pushing real bad. It is a tire-related problem that has put Hensley back in 4th spot and fading.
Yeah, he continues to hang on to 4th position, but he is not in a situation that is going to make him competitive to win a race here tonight.
No, unless they have a caution flag, he can go in and put on some fresh tires. But remember, he's changed the right sides already. He can only change lefts on the caution flag.
As 25 laps remain in this race, we watch second place once again. Labonte again looks to the inside of Tommy Houston as they race down the backstretch. Into 3, Labonte gets off the accelerator, falls back behind Tommy.
I think Labonte's car is a little bit quicker right now, but he simply can't get by.
I think if he were to pass, he'd take off, and he may do it right here as Wallace goes behind the wall once again. Let's see, Bobby Labonte, Terry's brother. Now he may have that position. Yes, indeed. He passes Tommy Houston, and Labonte moves to second.
Now let's see if he has enough time to catch our leader, Chuck Bound.
We talked at the top of the show about the brother brigade. It's ironic that the brothers of 2 former Winston Cup champions are battling this year for the Busch Grand National champion. They are Kenny Wallace, the point leader, Bobby Labonte second in the standings, and they've had, in each case, a rocky road to the top of the standings. Kenny Wallace's first career win came at Florida's Volusia County Speedway in late March. It put him atop the early season point standings.
Hey, Rusty, what do you think of that, huh? Man, that was great, I'll tell you.
Then, just 3 weeks later, Bobby Labonte reciprocated with his own first career win to close within 26 points.
Can you believe it? Crew did a great job. We come in and took a little wedge out. You know, the car just run good all day.
Kenny then began to struggle, unable to break the top 15, while Bobby took over the points lead in early May. A month later, that lead had grown to 109 points as Wallace's problems continued. But just as quickly, the tables turned. Engine problems at New Hampshire in mid-July, combined with second for Wallace, put Kenny back in front.
It was a patience race, you know, something that I've learned from, you know, from Rusty or from Darrell or from Dale, you know, all my heroes that I've watched run long 500-mile races. The car was handling so good. I mean, I didn't sweat a bit. It was great.
2 consecutive runner-up finishes have helped the '89 Rookie of the Year stretch his advantage to 173 points, and it's taken a toll on Labonte. He has finished outside the top 10 over the last month. Bobby's frustration was never more evident than at last Saturday night's race, Virginia's Pulaski County Speedway. Bobby was involved in an early race tangle with Jeff Burton and Dave Resendiz. It became obvious that he was going to be lapped, and Labonte's control finally snapped. All hope for a win was gone, but the crew-affected repairs got him back into the action. Maybe Bobby would have been better off calling it quits. He was involved in a second crash along with Richard Lassiter and Cecil Eunice, and at this point it's hard to tell which was hotter, Bobby's car or his temper. Maybe a chat with big brother Terry is just what's needed to put Bobby Labonte back on the right track. Meanwhile, you can bet Wallace is getting his own moral support and encouragement from his big name, Big Brother.
Chuck Bound continues to lead the Kroger 200 here at Indianapolis Raceway Park as we are with you on a special edition of Saturday Night Thunder. We're going to get a lap time on Chuck as he comes down the straightaway, and then we will go back in time the lap by Labonte and see how the two compare.
You forgot to push the... Oh, you did push the... We just didn't have it. I thought you'd forgotten to push that watch again, Bob.
Well, my calculator's batteries are down, but at least the timer works. There's Steve Grissom. He was in the pits for a long time early in the race. Here comes Bound down the straightaway and stops the clock at 24.3 seconds. Now, let me get my calculator, and I'll figure it out while you do something else.
That's almost 2 seconds slower than these cars qualify. At least a second and a half, so we can see just how important fresh tires are to these cars. If he could go in right now, put on fresh tires, he'd pick up at least 1 second of speed.
My handy calculator tells me that's a lap of 101.629 miles an hour, so they're about 9 miles an hour off the pole setting speed.
It's surprising that car run 110 miles an hour, much less 100 with the median into it earlier on in the day.
Isn't that the truth? Chuck Bound, a former champion of the NASCAR Winston West Series, in addition to being the Grand National champion. He won Winston West back in 1976. We have a car on the wall over
Jimmy Hensley.
number 2.
Jimmy Hensley.
Jimmy Hensley has banged the wall in turn 2, and I believe this is going to bring out our 6th caution of the evening. Yes, indeed, the yellow comes out.
Now we've got ourselves a barn burner of a race.
You betcha, because Houston and Bobby Labonte will be able to close the interval that they had between them and the leader, Chuck Bound, and we are set up for what promises to be a very exciting finish. But more than that, it's a very disappointing situation for Jimmy Hensley.
Sure is. We talked about all of a sudden the car had picked up a push. That means that the right front tire is sliding across the racetrack, not gripping. So the right front tire finally wore itself out, it sounds like, and into the wall he went.
Jimmy Hensley has been doing this for 25 years in NASCAR, and here is a replay, and he's already in the wall at this point.
And fortunately, he's able to keep the car on the wall, because we saw what happened earlier on when Warren Burton goes up and bangs the wall and came back off the wall, left the cars behind him with no place to go, and we had a 7-car pileup. This was a 1-car accident. Jimmy Hensley didn't take anyone with him.
Ridgeway, Virginia driver has been a winner of the most popular driver award in this series on 2 different occasions. There you see Gordon on the right and Green on the left in the pits.
And Jeff Gordon in the 1-car, the blue and white 1-car, came in as the caution flag was waving. If he was going to be able to continue, he would have stayed on the racetrack to save the lap. So he came directly into the pits. So whatever problem he has, I think, might be terminal.
And Jimmy Hensley walks from his race car through the infield, and he'll make the long walk back to the pit area as he drops out of the Kroger 200 with only about 14 more laps to go. 186 are completed. We'll be back for the finish right after this.
We're back at Indianapolis Raceway Park for what looks like one of those classic NASCAR late race shootouts. Jimmy Hensley hit the wall because the brakes were just cooked on that car. And when he hit the wall, his cousin Jeff Hensley never flinched, never batted an eye. That's because he's the crew chief on the lead car. That's right. His man, Chuck Bound, is leading the race. What do you think? You got enough car there to beat these guys? They got one last shot at you.
Well, I don't know. You know, we've been out front by ourselves all night, so we don't know what none of the guys have got. So, you know, it's with 10 laps to go, it's no holds barred.
All right, we'll go back topside, and we'll go talk to Terry Labonte's people.
Oh, the car just quit. The car just quit. The 63 car has just quit, Dave.
He just pulled over in turn number 2, and the car quit. And you could see Hensley's reaction, because Chuck was obviously on the radio saying something is wrong. The car is stopped. The yellow is going to remain out.
What? The safety belts come unhooked, of all things.
What did he say?
Safety belts come unhooked.
The safety belt came unhooked, of all things.
What a tough break with 11 laps to go.
His glove, evidently his glove or something got hung in the seat belts. There's one latch that holds the seat belts, that holds the driver in. And evidently that latch has come undone. And there we see Chuck Bound drives off now. He has the belts hooked back up. He has not lost a lap, but he has to go to the rear of the field.
Boy, he lost a lot of track position, and there are now only 10 more laps to go. So suddenly the guy in the lead will restart this race from the rear of the pack.
Now we see Hensley talking to the Busch official and saying, what do we need to do? Where do we line up?
Now we go inside
This is the Todd Bodine car.
And this is when Hensley went into the wall.
And we see the car go in the corner and just went straight on the wall, like the right front tire lost air all of a sudden.
Good pictures from the CarQuest in-car camera carried by Todd Bodine, and now the track is going green in one more lap.
Dave, what do you have to say for us down there?
The belts came unhooked, and Bound as a safety-conscious driver, I guess he had the option of going ahead and roaring around there without him. He elected to stop and hook the belt back up. And then NASCAR considered bringing him in to verify that the belts were okay. They have elected to take Hensley's word for it, but automatically, having stopped, he's at the back of the pack.
I'll tell you what, Benny, that is a real decision, or is it?
No, it's not a decision. I tell you what, folks, you've seen these cars hit the walls tonight. You want to be in that seat buckle in that seat. You don't want to be floundering around inside.
Despite the fact that there is only 9 laps to go. And you're right, because Labonte and Houston were right there to challenge Chuck for that lead when the green came out. But now Chuck is way back there as the green comes out, and Bobby Labonte, with 8 more laps to go, and the Kroger 200 is the leader of this race.
Labonte got a great jump on Tommy Houston. We saw just a few laps ago. He passed Tommy Houston. It's hard to imagine that Houston would be able to.
Now the question is, can Chuck Bound move through all these cars in this short a time and get up there to challenge for the lead? I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but I guarantee you he'll try.
He's certainly trying. He's already by Tracy Leslie, who was the only car on the lead lap.
There's Dick Trickle, 92. He moves low. Chuck moves to the high side. Tracy Leslie and Dale Jarrett kind of box him in, and Chuck has to get off the gas.
Well, the 72, the red 72, stopped on his last caution flag and changed tires. So, and he is on the lead lap with Chuck Bound. That was for, I guess now, 5th and 6th place.
6 more laps to go for Bobby Labonte, the leader of the Kroger 200. There is Bound. He doesn't have all that much distance to go.
Well, I don't know. He has to pass some pretty good cars. Tracy Leslie being one, that's it. It's stop and change tires. We can see already that Leslie has pulled 5 or 6 car lengths in front of Chuck Bound, and he's trying to get by Dick Trickle as I'm talking.
Tommy Houston holds on to 2nd position as there are 5 more circuits to go. Trickle in 92 runs in 3rd. And then 4th is Leslie, and 5th is Bound. Oh, and Tommy Houston is into the wall. And he comes off the wall, but does not gather in anyone else.
He doesn't even check on the throttle. He just went in the corner, hit the wall, kept on going. Meanwhile, Dick Trickle has taken over the 2nd spot.
And what a way to bring to a close Saturday Night Thunder. I tell you, we have just seen some incredible racing. Sprints, midgets from Ventura, California, from IRP, Winchester, Salem, and now IRP in the stock cars.
Tracy Leslie is now in 2nd place with 3 laps to go. He has fresh tires. Bobby Labonte has tires that are worn. He might be able to run him down.
And Chuck Bound has moved to 4th position. So it's Leslie is 2nd, then Trickle and Bound.
Here's Chuck Bound trying to take over that 3rd spot. There's Tracy Leslie in the red car. There's our leader, the other red car.
Dick Trickle started 22nd. He has had a beautiful, wonderful evening here. Is 3rd, and there are now less than 2 laps to go. Next time around, Bobby Labonte, who has a rather comfortable lead, will receive the white flag, indicating 1 more circle of the 5/8 mile oval here at IRP. Now Chuck Bound moves into challenge and bump with Dick Trickle coming off of turn number 4. Trickle hangs on to that position. We're on the last lap. The white flag is out. Bobby Labonte is on his way to victory. The battle right now is for 3rd position. Trickle and Chuck Bound. There's Bobby Labonte about to win the Kroger 200. He slows slightly as Tracy Leslie closes in. Here comes the leaders off of turn number 4. And yes, Bobby Labonte wins. Leslie is 2nd, followed by Trickle and Bound.
Man, oh man. You know, Elvin Rector, the crew chief on Tracy Leslie's car, resigned just a couple of weeks ago. I asked these fellows on the 72 car, who's the crew chief? They said we're going to do it by committee. So the committee did pretty good.
Bobby Labonte wins the Kroger 200, and he wins his 2nd Grand National Race of the year.
And Tracy Leslie got in the race by qualifying in the qualifying race. He started 28th and goes to 2nd.
Very nice performance by Tracy Leslie and Dick Trickle for finishing in 2nd and 3rd position. But the happiest man in Indianapolis Raceway Park at this moment is Bobby Labonte as he breaks his bad luck string and comes home the winner in the Kroger 200. Back to talk with him after this.
Saturday Night Thunder has been brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. In-car cameras provided by CarQuest Auto Parts. For your nearest CarQuest dealer, call 1-800-492-HEART. You'll find it at CarQuest. Final Saturday Night Thunder victory lane of the year, and look who's here, Bobby Labonte. Last race, you were crashed, blown up, on fire. Everything imaginable could have been wrong. Here you are in victory lane. Which is better?
Well, this is a whole lot better, I'll tell you.
You know, it's great to do this here in Indianapolis. I've been up here since Thursday doing a little PR for the racetrack, and it's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of great people here. You know, I just like to thank everybody on this Penrose Oldsmobile. And a terrific job. The last 3 weeks, they've been probably wanting to shoot me because I've tore up everything, it seems like. So this is great to come back and do this. And we had a lot of good luck tonight when Chuck had his problems, and that just made things a lot easier. And, you know, now we can concentrate on next week. And at least we got a race car to come home with that wasn't burnt like last week.
And you had Wallace sitting over there on the sidelines for 30 or 40 laps, which is a tremendous help in terms of the championship.
Well, you know, that was us last week. We were sitting there. So, you know, that's the way things go. It can all turn around in one race or it might take all 10. But, you know, I just like to thank Goodyear. They've done a heck of a job with this tire here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. And don't forget the Charlotte Showdown because it pays real big. Can't forget that. But, you know, it's been a lot of fun. And just all these guys back here, I owe it to all of them.
Congratulations, Bobby Labonte, back up top to Benny Parsons and the man who called the action tonight, Bob Jenkins. Good show, guys.
All right, and Wallace now leads by only 84 points as Bobby Labonte, the winner of the race, clipped that from 173. Tracy Leslie was second, Dick Trickle third, Chuck Bound fourth, and Tommy Houston finished fifth.
Sixth, Joe Nemechek, Dale Jarrett, a lap down seventh, Ed Barrier, eighth, Jack Ingram in his farewell tour ninth, and Troy Beebe 10th.
And as we take a look at the rest of the finishers, there are a couple of guys that you really got to take your hat off to. Tracy Leslie, his best career finish in Grand National competition, started 28th and finished in second.
I know Ron Parker, the owner of that car, has to be elated tonight. And Ron, from all of us, congratulations on a super run by Tracy Leslie.
And Dick Trickle didn't do bad, starting 22nd and finishing third.
In a brand new race car. First time out for that car, and he didn't bang it up too bad.
And the Winston Cup guys didn't do all that well here this evening at Indianapolis Raceway Park as the Grand National stars took the show. Kenny Wallace, the points leader, finished in 24th position here this evening, so he definitely has a fight on his hands to maintain that lead in the Grand National point standings.
There we see Darrell Waltrip. We talk about the Winston Cup drivers. He was 29th, Hut Strickland 31st, Morgan Shepard 32nd, and Dale Earnhardt 33rd.
Benny, it's been fun. Nice working with you, and it's certainly nice to be a part of Saturday Night Thunder.
It sure was.
And
exciting.
The most disappointed man in Indianapolis Raceway Park probably is Chuck Bound, and he's with our Dave Despain.
And Chuck Bound just coming back from being weighed over at the scales. Were you legal?
Yeah, I think we're okay.
That was the least of your problems tonight. We just finished the victory interview. It should have been yours. What happened?
Well, somehow, some way under that caution, leading the race with just a few laps to go, I unhooked the seat belt. So I don't know if it was the uniform cuff or the glove cuff or what, but I didn't even realize it happened. Just all of a sudden I felt them loose, and I thought, oh no. I had to stop, hook them back up. There was about 7 or 8 laps to go. We give up the track position, went to the tail end of the lead lap, charged back best we could with an Escafé Classic Pontiac, but come up a little bit short and fourth, but feel bad for the team. You know, I had the car tonight. The thing was really, really strong, and it was our race, and it's just a hard way to lose one, but I had to stop and hook them up.
With that in mind and knowing what was at stake, we wondered in the booth, did it ever cross your mind to think, I'm just going to cross all my fingers and toes and leave them unhooked?
Well, it does cross your mind, but I want to race again next week, and sometimes it gets pretty aggressive at the front for a win with a few laps to go, and like I say, I'd like to be doing this some more. You wouldn't have a chance if you got in a mess without your belts on and these things. You wouldn't have a chance at all.
Heck of a guy, heck of a champion, and better luck next time to Chuck Bound, who comes home fourth tonight after a great drive. That's going to pretty well wrap things up here from Indianapolis Raceway Park. As we say goodnight for tonight, we remind you that tomorrow morning we'll start the racing bright and early. The Hungarian Grand Prix comes your way at 7:55 in the morning, so set the alarm, get up, and watch the Formula One guys have at it. If you're a late sleeper, 1 o'clock will be plenty early to catch the Winston Cup guys up at Watkins Glen, New York, as they do a little road racing of their own, and we would definitely recommend that you check that one out. Bobby Labonte, a big winner here tonight in a lot of regards. With Kenny Wallace on the sidelines, this man has made a major leap toward this series championship. And hasn't this been a fun way to wrap up Saturday Night Thunder from Indianapolis Raceway Park? We thank you for being here throughout the season and especially tonight. For Bob Jenkins and Benny Parsons up topside, I'm Dave Despain. So long from Indianapolis, Indiana.